Okay, so this is part 2 of the video. Back to the position. There is one other option that White can employ if he just wants to avoid the situation altogether and he just doesn't know what to do about this knight. And it's very simple again. Um, Previously we looked at what to do after this sequence. Well, it doesn't even have to get to that sequence. If the idea of Black's knight being that deep into your territory bothers you, simply kick Black's knight out as soon as he comes in. And by kicking Black's knight out, I mean just immediately play this. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Black has no other option but to retreat. Either here or here. And either way, White will be the better off by far, because he's going to have a number of moves at his disposal. So we looked at the moves that Black had at his disposal to play, and the moves that eventually were played, and the move that was the winning move we should discuss now. This was the losing move, but let's look at what the winning move would have actually been in this position. It's difficult to find, and I don't fault the player for not finding this particular move, and this is not what caused White to lose the game, but it's a sign of maturity in chess to understand when it's appropriate to attack the opponent's queen, and to understand that the queen is the most valuable piece on the board, and to understand that attacking it is an option. So in this situation, the absolute best move to play is to force the issue with a3. And even though it looks like Black is winning a pawn for nothing, it's not true, simply because of the setup of the pieces. What I mean by that is there are too many ways for White to attack Black's queen now. He can attack directly in the next move with his knight. And Black has three problems. His first problem is that after Black attacks with a knight, he has to find a way to do two things at once. He has to find a way to protect this knight, and he has to find a way, if he can't protect this knight, to maneuver his queen to win this knight in exchange for it. That's a problem. The third problem is that this side of the board is beginning to look extremely weak. Notice how there's a bishop aiming at the king here, and notice how this queen is ready to come out and attack, and notice how these other pieces are getting ready. This rook is getting ready to come to the e-file and attack the king. It's not a pleasant position for Black. Now, the sign and the difference between a very good player and an average player is the ability to give up a pawn or some piece of material for something better in the long run. And in this case, the absolute best to move is to give up that pawn for the advantage that you're going to gain in being able to attack Black's queen. So the correct move, absolute correct move here is knight h4. After knight h4, Black's queen is under direct attack, so he has to, as I said, solve that problem. So he has to play something that will get him something. Let's say that he played this move, and the logic there would be, well, I can't protect this piece anymore, but after this I can do this. Well, if he decides on that line, this is what's going to happen. White is immediately going to take advantage of the huge weaknesses on Black's queen side. In Black's frenzied development, he failed to actually take time to make way for his king to castle. In fact, he never did castle. His queen was exposed and he never castled. Those are the two big mistakes he made. There's no response to this move. There's no way to stop the knight from coming to this square. Black can't play this. He can't get onto the dark diagonal no matter what he does. He can't stop the knight from coming here. The only way that black could conceivably protect this fork from happening is to do something like this. And then things are going to get really bad really quick after this. And anyone can see that this is really, really bad for white now. We don't need to, I'll show you anyway, but what's black going to play now? What can he play? Can't move the rook. The rook is being threatened. If he moves the rook out of the way, here comes the bishop. There's only one other move to make.
Checkmate.
And so that just shows you clearly how exposed that side of the board was. So again, the correct move is this sequence. Because as I said, black cannot do this. If he does do that, you saw what just happened. So what happens? Black has to run away to a square like this. And he has to lose this knight, and white wins the game right there and then. So there were a whole bunch of ways that white could have stopped that. He didn't have to find that spectacular combination. Those other ones would have sufficed just fine. So it went back to the simple maths error. After this combination, this was an error on white's part, mainly because there are faster and better ways to begin getting his pieces out, because his job is still to get his pieces out. He needs to get his rook and his bishop out. So there are better ways to do it than to just move the queen to e1, which I'm not sure what the purpose of was. It's not aggressively attacking anything. This would have been better even.
Check.
But even better than that is this. For two reasons. Obviously it's attacking the queen, but after attacking the queen has to run away. And he can develop a piece, so he's developed two pieces while attacking that queen. Now, if white really wants to think about it, just keep beating on that queen. Just keep attacking it with every move. If we want to play this next, when he runs away, then you can bring this out, and this is a perfectly logical, understandable position for white. And that's even after he's lost that pawn earlier. So that's a much better idea than what happened in the game. He moves there. Now black is going back to the threat over here of bringing the bishop down. His threat is this again. His threat is to go like this. That's not going to work. It's not going to work because of this. And again, that will set off a chain reaction of attacks on the queen. And he'll lose this piece in the end. I won't go into it, just take my word for it. There are so many pieces here for white that when white begins to attack black's queen, he's not going to be able to hold on to this bishop. This is a good move for for white. Logical attack. Nothing wrong with this. The game is a dead draw right now. So the knight's being attacked by the pawn. And white makes the final blunder of the game that ends the game, basically. He attacks the queen, which is a good idea. It's an attacking idea. He's thinking, I'm going to attack. Unfortunately, black can just take that piece. And black is probably really hoping here that white takes back so that they can liquidate. Remember, when you're ahead in development, you want to liquidate. So white does the right thing and declines. And actually, thanks to an error on black's part, these are all good logical moves. But thanks to an error on black's part over here, white is given a second chance at life. There are two ways he can play this. He can play b4. Or he can just take. And now the game is very close to a draw again. Well, black is up by one pawn. Again, though, when you're playing against someone who's about your same strength, one pawn is enough to win the game. So this is the main line that was played. Black's job now is to liquidate, get rid of all the pieces so that when everything's gone, his pawn is left. And he wants this pawn, the c pawn, to make it to the bottom. Why? Because there's nothing directly blocking it. So the two sides set about their business. White's job is to hold on to all of his pieces as long as he can, and try to get a pawn back so that he can even things up. This is a logical move. It brings the knight in closer so that it can attack. Maybe a good move here would be this, doubling up on this file. White played this though, and this is the wrong move because it goes against that basic principle. Remember, if you're losing in a game, especially a very close one like this, you don't want to exchange pieces because that's how the other side's going to win. So black jumps on the chance and trades him off, and he says, here, you want to trade another one? White catches on by now and says no, but it's too late. He's forced to trade this rook, and at this point white is still in the game, but if black plays correctly, it's over because of the extra pawn. The only logical move left for white to actually it's black's move, so black plays this. If trying to think if there's any way white could have gotten out of that. No, there's no way. So black plays this, and there was no way to stop it in the game. So he's going to be giving up these pawns. There's no way to stop it. And the white rook has no way to penetrate into the black position because black's rook is controlling this file, so he can't jump onto this file and attack the king. And the rook can't move onto these spots because the king is protecting those. So white maneuvers his rook over to begin, making some checks, but at this point it doesn't matter because black has 3 pawns lined up, and that's enough for anyone, who's half decent at chess to be able to walk 3 pawns up the board and make a queen.